Well, a lot of people don't know that in the past I was an abused woman, and it is hard to recognize that when you are in that situation. But I found out that even though that I was a very, very strong woman, I ended being one of those abused women. And that you don't want to accept that, right? So you just think that that it's normal. My first marriage, I was the father of my kids. We had a perfect relationship, right?
How old were you when you got married?
I was 24.
Okay, you were young.
Yeah, I was 24, but we were together for 7 years before we got married. So it was like my only boyfriend. So we got married, and then 6 years after, so I found out that he was cheating on me. He had a relationship with a coworker. So it was
6 years into the marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many kids at this point?
Two.
Okay.
I had 2 kids. One of them was 4, and the other one was 2. And yes, I found out that. So it was very hard because he worked in different shifts, but they were working at the same shift. You know, so every time that he would go work, so I knew that he was going to see that person. So things started getting bad and bad and bad and bad, but I didn't want to break that relationship because he was the father of my kids.
Yes.
You know, so I tried everything to save the relationship. We went to counseling, we went to the church, we did everything, and he would get better and he would go back. And every time that he would get back, when I'm trying to say, he was kind of abusive with me. You know, the way that he was treating me was horrible. Sometimes when he didn't come back from work, so I would take my kids, they were babies, as I said, and I would put them in the car in the middle of the night, all desperate, looking around, driving around to see if I could find him with her. And I was putting my kids in risk, you know, for a person that didn't deserve anything.
Yes.
So after 3 years, he decided I didn't want to end the relationship. He actually said, I'm leaving. So I remember that I went into my knees and I asked him, please don't leave me, because we were together for 17 years.
Yes.
So I was like, no. He left, and I promised myself that I would never be in a situation like that. I actually recognized that I didn't want my kids to grow up in an environment like that.
Yes.
Seeing his dad doing these things, you know, like having a second phone, hiding his phone, because I have 2 boys, I didn't want them to learn that kind of behavior.
It's not a great role model.
No, exactly.
Yes.
So I didn't regret that, you know, like he left, but then I was fine. I pray a lot. I say, God, help me to heal. As I say, I promised myself that would never happen to me anyways a few years later.
Yes.
So I just found this guy that he went to high school with me, and he found me in Facebook. And
in Puerto Rico?
Yes. But he found me in Facebook, and he was living in Egypt because he was in the military. So
okay.
and I don't know how I fell in love with him. We fell in love with each other. We got married after just a few months of relationship. So he brought me to Colorado. I brought my kids with me. So here I am again in another abusive relationship, right?
What do you mean by that? What happened?
Well, that one was bad. So we came to Colorado, and he was in the military, so they were taking money from his check for some money that he owed the army, and we barely had money. You know, I didn't know that was his situation, so I just came here blind because I was so in love and I just
Right.
believed everything that he said. So
And you would think you'd have military housing.
exactly. So we were actually living on Fort Carson. Thanks
Okay.
God that we have, house.
Yes, right.
But we were sleeping in the floor like for probably almost a month.
Wow, so no furniture.
No furniture at all. And then after a while, so we were able to get some furniture and stuff like that. But he was doing ETS at that time. That's how he called that he was getting out of the army. So he
That's
finally.
early termination of service.
Yeah, sorry.
For all those who prior military.
Early termination. Yeah, exactly. So when he finished, so since I had my house in Puerto Rico, I was like, okay, let's go back to Puerto Rico. So he was like, okay, and that's when I don't know if it was PTSD. I don't know what happened to him, but this guy totally changed.
Oh, wow.
Like he became really abusive, not only verbally but physically.
Oh. So did you have family there to run to for
Mhm.
protection?
I have my parents, I have my brother, I have everybody. The thing is that when I feel terrible because for my kids, right? Because he would tell me bad things in front of them.
Oh, wow.
And it was very humiliating. But at the same time, he would make me feel all the time that it was my fault. And I was like, what I'm doing to you? The only mistake I have ever done was to fall in love with you,
Yes.
honestly. For no reason, he would come and start telling me things. And I was blind. I can tell you that I was blind.
Did you have children with him?
No, thanks God that we didn't have any children. So then he never punched me or anything, but he would grab me, in my arms, and he would just push me to the bed or push me to the wall, and then I start having bruises in all my arms, in my legs. Exactly.
So how did you eventually get the courage to leave, to do anything?
Well, it was the only way that I could talk to him, and I'm not a drinker, I don't drink, but the only way that I had the courage to talk to him was if I drink. So this night, I decided to drink, right?
Yes.
I got drunk, and I started talking to him. We went into an argument, and then after that, I just took the car. I started driving, and I had an accident. So I didn't die because God is good,
Yes.
because it was in the highway in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
and the car was almost total. For me, that is something that I'm still trying to forgive myself, because I left my kids, in Puerto Rico with my parents.
Okay, so you plugged him in safely with your parents so that you could escape this man.
Exactly.
And then you went to Florida for
Then
3
I went
months.
to Florida for 3 months to save money to come
Yes.
to Colorado.
That was smart.
Yeah.
Nothing to feel guilty on that. I mean, you were setting the stage to have a safe environment.
Yeah. So that's when I came here finally. I had $600 in my pocket. I came to Colorado, no car. I stayed with a friend in an apartment, and then I was able to get a job. And then I went to the dealership. They say, okay, we need 2 pay stubs for you to get a car. So I was like, okay, as soon as I got 2 pay stubs, because if you have a car, you have everything, right? So you
Yes,
can find
right.
another job, you can do
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went to have my car, and then after that, a lot of things happened, since then. That was like 10 years ago. And I can say that my life completely changed. So a few months after, my kids came with me. I just got my license. I had my insurance license, life insurance license, and then I just got my property and casualty. I started working with State Farm. After that, I went to work with Liberty Mutual, and I was able to buy my house. And that was 2017, and when I moved here was 2000, at the beginning of 2015. So in less than 2 years, I overcame all of that.
That's
I
amazing.
bought a house. Yeah. Art is to recognize that you've been abused. That I would say, and I talk with a lot of friends of mine that they've been in abusive relationship, and for some reason, the abuser always make you feel guilty. Okay, if you feel that there's something wrong, just talk with somebody. Just get some help. You know, you're not accusing him necessarily, but the most common abusive relationship, you know, it's usually the ones that it's verbally, right? The verbal abuse. And that's the one that is so hard to recognize. You know, if this person is cheating on you and keep doing it over and over, that is the kind of abuse, because you know how you feel when that is happening. So I would say just get some help. Talk to somebody. Don't keep it to yourself.
Yes. Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to include in this story?
I would say that everything is possible, honestly. When I came here, you know, I always, actually my boy, you know, my oldest son, he moved to New York, and he moved with one of his best friends like 4 years ago, and he told me, no, Mom, I'm moving there. And I was like, what are you gonna do there?
Yeah.
He's like, well, if you could do it, I can do it.
Aww.
So he actually, after a year, so he was a manager in Walmart. So he was able to rent a townhome, buy his car. He has an amazing credit. I mean, I'm so proud of him, right?
I love that.
But he always say that I saw it on you. So
you set the example, Mama Bear.
yeah, right.
It's so great.
So he said that if I could do it, and he saw that I could do it. So you just need to find the resources, honestly. Like
Yes.
this is my goal, and what resources I need to use, you know, to reach my goal, because everything is possible.
Oh, that's so great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.